cop next to me. Pardon me for the belching. That's not actually what the video's about. See, the cops didn't harass me about the situation with Natalie until after she was dead. Before that, I mean, they did everything they could to avoid me like the plague. Well, I had to deal with people threatening and harassing me from all sorts of different walks of life. Primarily the druggies, though. A lot of people tell me they don't like my opinions of druggies. They want to tell me that these druggies are people too, as if I don't already know. As if I'm not actually out here doing something while they're talking about it. Now, this lady with Tides of Change, hopefully she's going to help me to turn in these crimes. I've been blackballed by law enforcement for years over crimes that literally never happened. I was denied all of my rights as a human being. But you know what? I still keep trying. Now with that, wannabe Christian feller, Bill Jensen, and all of his buddies wanting to harass me. It's a pain in the grain. Now we got a lot of notifications that I've been sent. I think the guy next to me is getting a sobriety test for him inside of his vehicle because his blinkers are out. Anyway, the park here closes at 10, and it's 7:49, so that gives me another 2 hours here. I tested some of the stuff that I wanted to make sure it worked, and it does. I got the free straws. I was able to make a couple things to show with that, which is pretty cool. I did those just real quick last night to kind of show the idea of animatronics. That's kind of puppeteering, basically. And I'd like to do basically that same thing, just on a little bit bigger scale. I don't need any heavy-duty materials. I'll probably need something that's medium duty for the stilts, because a dinosaur's legs kind of look different than ours. They work in much the same way, but I want to make sure that I can stand up bent over with a posture that's not going to hurt my back. And I want to be able to actually have my legs a little bit more extended than the way a dinosaur would sit. So that means that I have to sit differently. And that's going to take a little bit of mathematics, because you really want to do something like that right. And I think part of that comes with having a pivot at what should be the ankle bone. The paper plates, I'm going to show what I did plan on doing if that pool was big enough. Although it's not, I might be able to make it big enough for my purposes. And by using those paper plates, I'll be able to show that. I can actually fold up a paper plate right now and kind of show the concept. So I might do that. Although it won't look anything like I actually need it to, it'll kind of illustrate the concept of if it was plastic with some ribbing to help it maintain its shape. So the guy who's in the vehicle that got pulled over by the cops, he's just chilling in his vehicle. Cop went back to his vehicle for probably running the license or something of that degree. It's the same officer that's on my YouTube channel both times that I had to talk to the officer about Molly. When she had the gumption to try to have me committed, and then when she was trying to have Tom either committed or yanked back to her camp. No, Tom wanted to be done with her. And of course, she keeps finding ways to dip back in. Like, when he's done with her and he doesn't want to hear her anymore, well, now she'll have somebody else harass him. And that ain't cool either. See, that's the thing about people wanting to pretend that I was that kind of person. That I was doing stuff like that. You will blatantly allow women to get away with doing that stuff. And then you will convict a man just based on somebody's assumption that he might. Or, of course, which is more common the case, would be the crying wolf because you got busted doing something wrong. Just like Molly did, just like Natalie did, just like Alicia did, just like Maddie did. There are some people you're just simply allowed to do that to. They don't matter to society enough for anybody to actually speak up or fight for their rights. And then, of course, we're told that because we're males, it's our fault that the laws are the way that they are. Men did this, men did this, men did this. Well, how can it be all men's fault when there are so many men in the United States who are not considered human beings by any of you and you don't listen to? The ones that you expect to fight for your rights the most, but then do you fight for theirs? No. When it comes to fighting for their rights, you think complaining about what you've gone through is helping them. No, it's not. A lot of the both men and women that I helped, the men mostly just asked me for the help that they needed, and they might tell me a few details of what's going on, but not usually much. Whereas a woman, more generally, will tell me her entire life story. Like, well, all right, as long as we get you and your kids safe, that's what matters. Now, when somebody tells you their whole life story, either they're trying to get sympathy or they need you to understand because they do need the help. For me, I don't get the help that I need because I'm a male. I don't get the help that I need because of the skin color that I have. I didn't ask for the skin color I have. I didn't ask for the parents that I have. I didn't ask to be born into the family that I was born into. But I do get told often that this is all my fault, that I chose this. This was my decision to be victimized. It was my choice. It's something that I wanted. I must have wanted it, because you say so. Some of you even try claiming that because you said so in the name of Jesus, it makes it okay. I don't see how that makes it okay. I don't understand how pretending in a false deity makes something okay. I've read the Bible, and I see this Rambo Jesus that people keep trying to throw at me. And they ain't the same thing. They're not even close to the same thing. Now, I'd like, just like I tell you all that I want for every soldier, I want that for every person, for them to be home safely with their families. At the same time, if the soldier is going to tell me that they're fighting for something and talk to me as if I owe it to them because I have that something, they should probably check to make sure I have that something before telling me what I owe them. They should probably find out what they were fighting for before they tell me what they were fighting for, because it sure as hell ain't the Constitution. There are a lot of people in the United States that were not born here who are still human beings, and I personally believe that they have the rights of the Constitution. But we've got people who are hate mongers masquerading as Christians. masquerading as followers of Christ. And these hate mongers are everywhere. And many of them, they say those pretty words that are used to manipulate somebody who actually believes that stuff. Right now we've got the ones who want to say love and light. Love and light, love and light. Well, what does that mean? That is not a solution to any of my problems. Now, with a lot of women who offered to help, they wanted to tell me sometimes to no end how much they understood. And in the end, they didn't understand. Because they had been so busy talking about themselves and what they wanted and what they needed help with. They never found anything out. Now, with that Bill Jensen feller and his entourage and nut jobs, they get on and harass me on my YouTube channel. You know, I didn't want a YouTube channel. It wasn't something that I ever wanted. After Natalie was killed, it became necessary. Before that, my YouTube was used for watching videos, getting an education. I didn't have the money for college, but there's a lot of stuff on YouTube. Now, I'm hoping that that lady at Tides of Change will be able to help. I'm hoping so. The way that I was treated by the cops in Hood River when I tried to turn in several of these instances, like, nobody should have to go through that. To have to go through that repeatedly, that's just, well, hell on earth. Not being able to see my loved ones because of rumors. It just sucks. Badly. And the fact that these people, you know, it's one thing to lose one or two friends, not be able to see one or two friends, and being cut off from nearly all of them at once. The ones that you're not cut off from just don't have any time. While you're being abused, they're telling you they'll help you to stop the abuse, but then they're telling you how they don't have time, they don't have time, they don't have time. Well, if you don't have time, don't make the offer. Alright, so let's see if we can get enough light in here to show my paper plate. Nope, apparently not too much stuff in here. Oh. This is kind of the idea behind a cape. But here, I'll turn it around. This is what we're looking at. When you expand it, you know, you've made yourself a little fan. But you can expand it further. And I'm sorry I have to do this in odd fashion like this, but I don't exactly have a picture-perfect photo studio. Anyway, that's what it looks like when it's expanded. Now, if you've got two of those, of course, it'd be plastic, so it wouldn't be as rigid as this. It would be Mylar, which is similar in consistency to this. or not Mylar, but, oh God, what's the name of that stuff for the plastic painter's sheeting? Anyway, that stuff, the way that it tends to rip, is directional, so I have some tape to put across it to help structurally reinforce it. I'll probably use this as a template to make something out of a plastic bag, and actually make the saucer section, the piece that I would use the pool for. I don't need it to go all the way around, because on a mantis's body, that front portion there would basically be where its mouth is. A mantis has a huge mouth. Some of them, their mouth is big enough that you can fit a whole diver inside. So this front section can be open, and that allows a little bit more of that pool, as long as it's sliced in the right areas and puts a splice in there. I could actually still use that little pool for what I need it for. Anyway, I got straws. I got different projects in the works. Still no place to do them or use them. I'm waiting on that one lady to see if she wants to purchase the kayak I got on top of my car. I am dirt broke. I got, I believe, until the 7th to pay my insurance, but I could be wrong. It might be due on the 30th or on the 1st. So I'll just have to try to call them up and find out. Anyway, I got a bunch of paper plates to play with, and I'm actually going to take the scissors to them, because that'll actually give me a much better likeness of what it is that I'm working on. This right here, I'm going to fold up, and I'm going to stick it underneath my legs so that I can get it good and flat while I'm driving. The guy next to me, I guess he was having issues with his blinker, so he has to leave his vehicle here. It happens. On the bright side, he didn't get arrested or hauled off. It didn't seem like he was doing anything to get arrested or hauled off for, so. Alright. I got all this stuff shoved back here. This is all my stuff that blows up by air. I got one more that I got for $1 or $1.25, and it holds a glow stick inside of it. And because the painter's plastic that I have, it's not see-through at all. I do have a really super large plastic bag that I intend on using for places where I'm going to either want or need visibility and want to actually have a window to look out of. But the reason for using all, plastics like this is because it's cheap, it's garbage, it's, basically for a prototype, you make do with what you got, and if people like the concept, maybe they'll invest in something better. There's a company that makes shoes, and for every shoe that they sell, they send a shoe, or for every pair of shoes they sell, they send a pair of shoes to Africa to people over there with no shoes. The same shoes that you buy. And I guess they went green, so their shoes are made to be long-lasting and out of recycled materials. I guess they have a special type of microwave that they can make with plastic soda bottles now that, as long as you take care of it, it'll last for possibly decades, which is also cool. I don't know if that shoe company is using that stuff or not. But what I do know is that with all these homeless people out here going through all this crap, if I'm able to sell some of these products as camping products, but I'm able to make them so they're, first of all, beefy enough and strong enough for everyday rugged use, like a homeless person or somebody in the military would use it, but also have it so that I'm able to get sales from people who are wanting to do camping. So if you, like, for example, the cot tent that I want to be able to have it double as a kayak, there's a few more things in it that are pretty cool. But I mean, altogether, if I'm going to make one, I'm going to make one for me. And if people like the idea, then we can invest in making them for others. But also, with something like that, it gets more complicated because we don't need new tents. The money for that wouldn't be for making a new tent for all these other homeless people. They've got tents. What they need is a place to put it. So any profits would need to go to actually buying property that can be given to people so that they can have a safe place. A place where they're safe from victimization. A place where they won't be raped because they're stuck out on the streets, where they won't be beaten up because they're out on the streets, where people won't put drugs in their food and drinks because they hate us that much. There are people who will go out and feed the homeless because they're good people. And there are people who will go out and feed the homeless because they want to do something mean and nasty. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that Bill Jensen feller is one of them folks who would put roofies in a woman's drink or poison in a homeless person's food. There's at least 4 trees that I know of within 100 yards of this spot where literally just one leaf off of that tree is enough to kill an adult. The thing is, that's evil and wrong. Hopefully Bill Jensen doesn't have that education, because he might actually do things like that, or try to convince others to do things like that. I'm tired of my loved ones being murdered and nobody caring, including people who claim that they love me. Also, I wanted to express that between vegetable oil and canola oil, if you're going to make an oil lamp, use the canola oil. First of all, it lasts longer. Second of all, it doesn't stink nearly as bad. You'd think that the higher viscosity of vegetable oil would make it last longer, but no, it doesn't, and it stinks. I tested out 4 different homemade lamps or lanterns. 2 of them were made by somebody else, and they were complete trash, not worth. Well, what he did was literally just crush the can. I was telling him about the cans that the hippies make for the little alcohol stoves made out of 2 bottoms of a Coca-Cola can. And I was telling him about those, and he was telling me he'd seen those, and he told me he could make those in less than 5 minutes. He could do it in like 30 seconds. So he smashed a couple of cans and called it good. When you smash a can like that, you really should put the wick in first. Make sure the wick goes all the way to the bottom, because if you don't, then you're going to end up with a wick that just basically sits on top, and most of the volume is going to be in the can. Plus, when you crush a can like that, you end up inevitably popping holes in it wherever there's a crimp or something near being a hole. So then you're leaking oil all over the place, and that's just a bad idea. So a crushed can is a bad idea. Write that down in your notebook. Using vegetable oil stinks. It'll stink you out of your tent. It'll stink you out of camp if it's outdoors. So don't try that at home. Canola oil does burn a lot cleaner, but it's still an oil lamp. So if you burn it, anything that you have around, that oil is going to stick to. One thing you might not know is that the Sistine Chapel, which was painted by Michelangelo, for years, they didn't even know that it was painted by Michelangelo because they didn't even know it existed. The reason that they didn't know it existed is because the soot from the oil lamps, mostly run on animal fat, by the way. It stuck to the ceiling. And all that soot and all of that oil over years and years and years, it made the roof of the Sistine Chapel black. There's actually some really cool black and white photographs of once they started cleaning it and realizing that there was a masterpiece underneath. Michelangelo objected to painting the Sistine Chapel. He said, "I'm not a painter, I'm a sculptor." And yet it's considered one of the most magnificent pieces of art. Magnificent. It's certainly grand. Grand means large or larger than life. Huge, massive. Took up a lot of room, and he had to do it on his back, and he gave himself permanent back issues and neck issues and a lot of other issues. All to make God happy. Well, not God, a pope. And a very evil pope who is, of course, involved in genocide while he was having Michelangelo paint the Sistine Chapel. Isn't that swell? We got 11 different crusades that were actually called, just so you know. The most famous is actually the Third Crusade. That's the one with Saladin. If you've ever watched the movie Kingdom of Heaven, it's very loosely based on that. And yes, when the Christians took over Jerusalem, they did slaughter every man, woman, and child within the walls. Every single one. You should write that down. All throughout history, we get to see Christians doing very un-Jesus-like things in the name of Jesus. Even today, not just that Cora Bowers lady after Natalie was killed, but that lady from Virginia who made a fake profile to harass me on. On the bright side, I record everything. I take screenshots and I speak out in the moment. That way it's recorded when it happens. We got a lot of situations recently where police officers thought they could get it their own way, and they certainly did get it their own way. For a while. Sure, they were able to press false charges against me and get away with that, but they weren't able to get them to stick. Now that does create a problem for them, especially since Gould County has established more than just a pattern of harassing me, but a pattern of harassing those who assisted me. Of course I speak out. Who the fuck wouldn't? People threatening to kill my family has been going on since well before Natalie was killed. That was the bullshit that really broke the camel's fucking back. Natalie wasn't the first person to do crazy shit. She was just the straw that broke the camel's back. And of course, I'm doing stuff that doctors tell me not to do. I'm not supposed to twist. I'm not supposed to lift nothing more than 10 pounds. There's a guy named Wraith. His real name is Tory Wentworth. And he's got MS. So he has issues with walking, has to use a cane. And some days now, that's even too much for him. Anyway, he's got his own YouTube channel. He was wondering how I ended up with so many subscribers and so many viewers. I explained to him it's because people hate me. See, he never follows the Natalie Bollinger thing. he and Chris, they have their own life, their own problems. A lot of people say that. They got their own problems. Everyone's got their own problems. That's their excuse for doing nothing. But you know what? When they needed help, was it everyone's got their own problems? No, it was Sean, I need help. Sean, I need help. Sean, I need help. And with many of these people that I helped, look what I got for it. I got kicked in the teeth. Or what they wanted to call help was just telling me to do something that I'd already had to do alone and gotten nowhere. The same suggestions over and over from somebody who's only been paying attention for 5 minutes. Hey, why don't you, I don't know, stop making the same suggestions as everybody else? Because none of y'all should be making suggestions. If you're going to help me, you need to find out what's going on. You need to look at evidence and you need to speak up. Instead, you know what? It's trolls. It's wannabe Christians. It's people like Bill Jensen and his buddies that are getting on and being interactive. Just like with Jennifer Farina Bollinger and her friend. What was his name? Adam something or other? Adam Daly, maybe? No, it was... I'll have to look it up. Anyway, they went at that for over a year. And nobody would do anything about it. That's where that lady called herself Katie Cahill and I had the issues. She was claiming she was going to represent me all the way from Illinois, except, well, there was no way to contact her and she wasn't talking to my lawyers like she said she would. She was making zero attempt. Then she wanted to try to get that stuff taken down by saying, oh, well, you know, I'll make a police report if you take that stuff down. No, you need to help me take it down, because at that point, I didn't even know how to do that. Beyond that, there was a lot more screwed up things going on that were only compounded by the fact that she had wasted so much of my time, my precious time, when I need actual help. What I got was bullshit by a lot of different people. Oh yeah, Sean, I'll help, I'll do this and I'll do that. Oh, Sean, I heard about you from this Facebook group or this YouTube group. Or, hey, Sean, there's people who are saying that they're going to kill you. Well, you need to fucking speak up. I go to the cops to pretend I'm schizophrenic. The people who are telling me these things and showing me this evidence and sending me this evidence, I tried to get the cops to look by myself. What I needed you to do is not to send it to me. Send it to me and the cops in the same fucking email. That way we can all verify that it's been seen. That way I can show in court that what they're calling me schizophrenic for saying is the fucking truth. And if you're too cowardly to do that, no, you're not helping me. You're not even trying. Because without speaking up, you're not doing jack shit. Well, looks like he's going to have to ride his bicycle home. It's the guy that was just pulled over by the cops. Alright, so I'm trying to get all the stuff that you get plugged in, actually plugged in so that it's charging. Well, that was effective. Remind me to do that again in slow motion. Anyway, there's a lot of people like, it was Adam Klein, that's what it was. So fucking shit, Rick. He's a friend of Jennifer Farina Bollinger, who is definitely one of my and one of Natalie's predators. Understandably, she doesn't want her brothers getting in trouble for being nasty-ass fucking child molesters. Alright, it's not understandably. My little brother thought it was okay to touch his own stepdaughter, and guess what? No, I was not on his fucking side, nor will I be. My little brother, Michael Allen Albert, has been a sexual deviant for as long as I've known. Takes after his dad, I suppose. My little brother thought he could bully girls in high school into having sex with him. Well, they were not okay with that, and you have no idea how many women came to me saying, Sean, I need your help. Michael won't take no for an answer. Him and Drake won't leave me the fuck alone. Which is kind of funny, because many of those women later on, well, Drake's got really long eyelashes, so a lot of women found him attractive anyway, despite the fact that he's got a tinky winky. But once he started selling meth, like, oh my God, half the women in half the girls in Chapel, Nebraska, because we was all still pretty young back then, they were having sex with Drake Chambers because he had the meth. So Drake Chambers used to run around town telling everybody about everybody else's vagina. So he told us about Tracy Hodges' vagina, and he told us about Caroline Coffey's tear-shaped nipple, and a bunch of other shit like that that's really nobody else's business, is it? So we got to hear about Tracy Hodges. We got to even hear about his own, I don't know if it's his stepsister or his half-sister. I know his dad's name is Ed Simmons, or not Ed Simmons, Ed Chambers, and it's one of Ed Chambers' daughters, but I don't know if they're actual daughters or if Ed adopted them or what. But then, of course, you know, you think, well, you know, guys just brag about that kind of stuff. They don't really mean it. They just want you to think they're the hot shit. No, see, here's the thing about Drake Chambers. Like I said, he's got a tinky winky. So these women that were getting intimate with him were telling everybody about his tinky winky. And even after hearing about his tinky winky, they still went back to play with his tinky winky. Why? Because he had the fucking drugs. Then, of course, the drugs in Chapel, Nebraska, they were being dealt by Alan Bain. But that's the thing, is that even though they were being dealt by Alan Bain, that's not who they were coming from. They were being produced just outside of town. And everybody knew it. Things have not changed much in Chapel, Nebraska. We get rid of one crooked sheriff, we got another crooked sheriff coming in. It's going to be the easy life, they think. Then they run into a mean sumbitch like me. Well, I wouldn't be mean if they'd do their jobs and stop getting my loved ones killed. This is horse manure. Right, well, now we're starting to get a charge. We still got another hour or so where we can be here and do our thing. My vehicle is extremely low on gas, so I am worried about that. Hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to talk to one of these places and get a gas voucher. Usually they only give you a gas voucher if you're going to move on. That's what everybody wants to do. Their solution is for you to move on when you're homeless. Move on to where? Because when you get to the next place, they want you to move on too. It is a gross waste of taxpayer dollars to do this crap. You don't want them here, so you'll ship them somewhere else. you don't stop to consider the cost of doing that so often. And then, of course, you don't even want to utilize those services unless somebody tries to turn in your cops for not doing their jobs. Why aren't these cops doing their jobs? They say it's because they're defunded, but then again, when it comes to the homeless, they didn't do their jobs before. They got a lot of experience playing fucking stupid. And you guys go right along with it. That's the difference between them and you guys. They're just playing. They're playing you for a damn fool, and you're walking right into it. Anybody they point at and say he's the bad guy, you go after. You're pissed off at them, but you go after the people they point you at. Fucking dummies. Anyway, with the number of my loved ones that you idiots have gotten killed by wanting to look the other way and pretend you believe in the Rambo Jesus. No, there ain't no such thing as the Rambo Jesus. I read the Bible, alright? I have read your book. Venture to say I've probably read it more than any of you have. The one or two of you who watch my channel who might be able to claim otherwise, it's probably a close battle. I read the Bible for at least an hour a day for about 15 years. So, yeah. Right before Natalie died, I couldn't remember a goddamn thing I'd read. Do you know why? Lack of sleep. Had to worry about fucking going any goddamn place to go see any of my loved ones because of fucking rumors started by junkies. And even worse, I still love those junkies. And it's not because they're junkies, it's because they're human beings. Now, when it comes to this Bill Jensen feller, you know, him and his buddies continually making accounts to harass me over and over again. This has been happening since over a year before Natalie was killed. People making fake accounts to fucking harass me and to threaten me. And I try to get help from my friends, and what do? They blow me off. And blow me off and blow me off until people are dead. And then they want to say, oh, it's not my fault, stop blaming me. No, it is exactly your fault. Your choice to look the other way, your choice to bullshit me and waste my time resulted in dead bodies. Yeah, we're not going to fucking get along even if you're my best friend. I take human lives very seriously. Just so you know, September 26th of 1983, Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov got to do something that I'm pretty sure nobody watching my channel will ever do in their lifetime. And that is to save every single man, woman, and child on the planet. That's right. September 26th, 1983. This Russian literally saved every single life on Earth today. We all owe it to Mr. Petrov. We owe the fact that we're breathing to Mr. Petrov. We owe the fact that there are dogs and birds to Mr. Petrov. So, when it comes to an actual savior of humankind, Stanislav Petrov is closer to Jesus than any of you will ever be. Good to be rid of you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and no victim left behind.